this session. Last year, we testimonials live on, and this year we're back bigger and better. And today we're starting the pilot to this year's event series of the MarkHack 4.0 Preconversation. And we have, as always, on calls who are going to help us to share today's topic, storytelling as fuel, creating narratives that drive consumer loyalty. And just wondering, just in case you haven't heard about the biggest, grandest tech event program happening in Lagos, Nigeria, which is the MarkHack 4.0, scheduled to hold on the 23rd of May 2025. Themed we're going to the themed consumer experience, right? Ignited experience, fueling consumer loyalty. And today's topic, we're going to be talking about storytelling as fuel, crafting the narratives that drive consumer loyalty. As I said, we have 4 amazing speakers with us today, and I'm just going to be leaving the ball over to them to just tell us their thoughts for today's webinar, and I'll be back to introduce them properly. So I'm going to be starting with the amazing Gospel on call. Gospel, so nice for you to join us today. We're excited to have you. I'm more excited about today's conversation because I know it's going to be very, very impactful to the audience, right? Especially as we gear up to the main conference come May 23rd, talking about consumer experience, right? So Gospel, if you could just share with us your thoughts concerning today's webinar. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Indeed, it's an honor to be here today. Storytelling is a necessity for every brand to have. It is the differentiator of one brand from the other in a market that is highly saturated. Storytelling is what differentiates your brand. All right, so basically this topic is long overdue, and if you're building a product, I think you should be part of this webinar because you're going to learn a lot. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, so we'll be passing over to the next panelist on call, which is Okiki. Okiki, what are your thoughts and expectations for today's webinar?
Hi, is it okay if I put on my camera? I just wanted to be sure, just so it's a bit more interactive or personal. I don't know if I can't hear you if it's your network. I think you're muted.
Oh, yes, I said, please, by all means, it's a conversation.
Okay, all right.
Actually, like, yes.
Yes, so please, can you take the question again? I don't think I heard that.
All right, so I was just asking about your expectations for today's webinar, today's conversation, your take on the topic. Gospel told us about how important it is for brands to tell their stories, right?
So I'm excited about today's conversation. I would say the same way when I put on my camera, I said I wanted it to be a bit more personalized. The same way brand tells stories to resonate with their audience and personalize their brand with their audience. So I think that is the whole essence for me about today's conversation that I'm excited towards. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And thanks for the case study. All right, so next we have Jessica. Jessica, what are your expectations for today's conversation?
Thank you so much, Antonia. For me, it's actually a conversation that is also long overdue, just like Gospel mentioned. And I am coming from that perspective of where we use data to drive storytelling. So technology should be at the center of storytelling and helping brands to enhance how they tell their stories. So I'm really looking forward to this conversation, and thank you for having me.
You're muted.
I was muted, sorry. I said, and lastly, but definitely not the least, we have Olusesan on the call. What are your expectations for today's conversation?
Hi, Antonia. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Jessica. Good afternoon, Okiki. And good afternoon to Gospel. All right, my expectation, I think I find this very interesting. It is a report that said that marketing is the last leg in the production process. And what that means basically is how do we ensure that business make money from the production that they engage in. And if you look at that in today's market where there is so much noise, you are fighting with the algorithms, you are fighting with attention. If you live in Lagos, every corner is filled with one billboard and the other. People have gone to 3D billboards. People are doing die cut just because you want to cut through the chase, right? And we find out that all of this is still happening the way it's happening. However, there is one old truth about stories, is the fact that we are all products of stories. And I think, it is one hidden gem that brands that we talk about today in terms of essence, in terms of functionality, in terms of credibility, in terms of equity, have leverage. If you look at that, from the big global brands like Nike and all of the other brands that we cite. And if you come back home, you can see the likes of Airtel with what they've done with, storytelling and a number of other things like that. But more importantly is that I believe that this kind of conversation gives us an opportunity to dive deeper, especially for, startup, for new businesses who do not have the kind of budgets that the big global brand have. And the question is, how can I, in my own little way, do a cut through the chains to get to the heart of the consumer? So those are my expectations today in terms of, sharing with all of that, exciting panelists, and also learning from the audience in terms of, the conversation around storytelling. Thank you.
Thank you very much. How modest of you. The remarkable thing that we sound in all your introductions is how imperative this topic is, right? And just taking from where Olusesan spoke about how there's so much noise around us today, right? So much content going up every second. We live in a digitalized era, and for brands to really stand out, for brands to really be able to constantly sell to the market, they have to be able to be remembered by the customers, right? And for that to happen, you have to now understand the values of your customers, right? And no better way than doing that than selling your product, your solution with unique storytelling, right? And that's what today's pre-conversation is all about, looking at how we can connect with your customers, how your customers can uniquely identify you and identify audience, right? We are now native AI types and easier. You can easily just come up, personalize your ends. And I have to say, and so I'll just go to introducing our speakers. You already heard from the horse's mouth, but here at Econo Innovation Center, we believe in giving honor to whom honor is due. And with that, I would start with reading the bio of the beautiful Okikioluwa, who is fondly known as the bit-size Oliver Pope. She is a business director at the Hook Creative Agency with nearly a decade of experience in marketing and brand strategy. She has led campaigns for top brands across FMCGs, tech, finance, beauty, and travel, driving growth through creative strategy and stakeholder collaboration. With a passion for influencer management and a strong academic background, she continues to shape the industry with innovative thinking and a flair for impactful storytelling, right? So we're bringing industry experts to you. Next, we have Olusesan, who is the head of marketing at AXA Mansard PLC and a 2014 Fulbright scholar at Michigan State University, where he taught African literature and studied communication campaign design. He has over a decade of experience and he combines insights in consumer behavior and business strategy to deliver impactful programs. He has consulted for notable organizations like Alpha, Med Group, NNPC, and Defeed Gems too. Is interested in social influence on consumer behavior, marketing technologies, and circular economies through MSMEs. Next, ladies and gentlemen, we have Gospel, who is an XR engineer, an AI content creator, 3D digital fashion designer, and founder of Afred and EdTech solutions using augmented reality to bring textbook content to life. With over 5 years of experience, he has trained 5,000 individuals globally in AR, VR, AI, and digital tools. He's the creator of top-rated courses and winner of the 2020 AR, VR African Hackathon. Gospel is passionate about AI ethics, digital fashion, and empowering others through workshops and educational content. Lastly, but definitely not the least, we have Jessica. Jessica is the founder of BrandSauce Marketing Technologies, a startup revolutionizing brand activations with tech-driven engagement and real-time data analytics. With over 10 years of experience in digital marketing, brand strategy, and product innovation, she creates Moments, a platform that optimizes offline activations, right? So she holds a master's in digital marketing from the University of Professional Studies, Accra, and she leads successful campaigns across Africa. She also consults with Generation Ghana, empowering graduates to pursue tech-driven freelance courses. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you our amazing speakers who they are going to help us in doing justice to today's topic, even as we explore how to ignite experiences for consumer journey, right? And with that, we'll go right to the discussion. And just in case at any point in time during the conversation, you have any questions, you have any contributions, you can just drop them in the chat box. We would do well to attend to that, right? So I'll start with Gospel. Gospel, you have worked closely with growth stage brands. What are the first questions you ask when helping a client develop a brand story that sticks? I saw a post online, and it was talking about the difference between sales, right, and brands, and how building a brand, right, it's more than just selling your product, right? Because anybody can sell, can just go to the street now and sell anything, but we are trying to ensure you are able to build as a brand, as a person aiming to build your brand. We're trying to ensure that you're able to leave an imprint in the heart of your sellers, such that whenever they think about a particular solution you're providing, they think about you, right? So as someone who has worked closely with growth stage brands, what are the first questions you would ask when you're trying to help a client develop a unique brand story that sticks to their clients, their customers? Thank you.
All right, thank you. Firstly, I like to ask that it's raining cat and dog right here, so network is terrible, so that is why my video is turned off so that the conversation can go smoothly. So please forgive me. So right now, so yeah, as someone who worked closely with growth stage brand, what are the questions that I asked, right? So of course, when developing a brand story that resonates, I start by asking foundational questions that uncovers the brand's core identity and audience alignment. I mean, we are talking about questions like, why does this brand exist beyond making money? I mean, you need to know your purpose, okay? The same when the purpose is not known, abuse is inevitable. So beyond making money, what is the purpose of this brand being in existence? We have questions like, what unique problem are you solving and for who are you solving these problems for? Of course, you need to know who your audience are and how to position yourself to get those audience, to get your products to the right people, okay? Now we ask questions again like, what emotions do we want customers to associate themselves with? Why are you creating this product? What story is behind the product? Okay, so these are some questions that we do ask our clients. And when they respond to this, we fine-tune the entire thing and see how we can create a better product for them. Now, it is necessary to know that a strong brand story isn't just what you sell, it is why exactly you sell it. What is the story behind your product? Why do you sell what you sell? Right? These are what people really want to know. You're talking about companies like Nike, even Airbnb. Before, like Airbnb had a story of, if I can remember, they talked about technology also, but they later changed it to belong anywhere. Okay, so there are people that when they move from one country to the other, one nation to the other, they want to belong. Right, and that is what Airbnb stands for. So it is not all about what you sell, but why you sell it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's so insightful. I think my nugget there was, it's not about what you sell, but why you're selling it. What's the story? What's the emotion you want to drive, right? And what's the purpose? What's the agenda, right, of building that brand? And with that, I'll just go to Okikioluwa. Okikioluwa, Gospel has given us from his standpoint, from your standpoint as the creative, that's from the creative agency view, what elements make a storytelling campaign unforgettable? Gospel just told us that it's not about what you sell, it's about why you're selling it. Why should they buy what you're selling? So what elements make a good storytelling campaign unforgettable and conversation driven in today's fast-paced digital environment? Thank you.
Okay, all right. Hi, Antonia. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. So I would say the first thing is you have to be authentic. Audiences these days can see through the inauthenticity of communication. So when your communication is not authentic, it doesn't come across as genuine, it doesn't come across as intentional. People all of a sudden don't want to resonate or be attached to it. That's why when you use, case in point, if you use an influencer or anything, and all the influencer is saying is buy, without having to tie it to their day-to-day or relatability, immediately the engagement on that kind of content is reduced. So audience always wants something or a communication that comes across as authentic. Again, the word is comes across. As comes people, it's us to now make it believable that people think it is what we want them to think. That is the entire idea of marketing. It's about perception. Another thing is audience always wants emotional connection. We are living in a world where realistically Nigeria is hard enough. So as much as possible, if you are able to emotionally connect with your audience and create a deeper bond with them beyond just being aloof, it's easier for you for your communication to be unforgettable because there's something that they are experiencing or something that they can relate to emotionally that they are able to see in your comms. And if it is relevant to their day to day are not out of touch, if a communication is done in Nigeria in today's world and it is based off of previous communication on how Nigeria used to be before, then there's an immediate divide. So it's very important that you are relevant, you stay relevant, you communicate based off of today's reality, not based off of previous circumstances or previous ideas. And you have to be consistent. You can't say one thing, you can't tell one story today and then tomorrow you're telling a different type of story. And we can't go to your Instagram page and we see something, and then on your Twitter we are seeing you drag people. We can't go to your YouTube and you're coming across as emotional or relatable, and on your TikTok all we are seeing is you dancing all the time. So there has to be a cohesion within all of your platforms that is consistent. Your communication across all platforms has to be consistent. It's either you choose to be funny, you choose to be relatable, you choose to be emotionally connect with people, but ultimately always stay authentic in your communication. So I'll say that's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. A lot of bullets in just that short minutes that you had to talk to us. And I think my take from there is authenticity, right? Resonating with the audience emotionally. You said be true to yourself. And I think it uniquely ties back to what Gospel said about what's the purpose, right? What's the purpose? What are you trying to sell? And you did make a very valid point about being true to your brand, having a brand voice across all platforms, right? So being true, be someone they can depend on, be someone they can trust. Let them trust what you're saying, right? Don't just come in their faces and lie and all of that. So next we have I'm going to go to Jessica. Jessica, with BrandSauce focus on technology-enabled solutions, how do you incorporate automation and personalization in storytelling without losing the human element, right? We're in an era where everybody just goes to AI for content creation, right? The first thing that pops up when you're trying to create a content is, oh, let's go to the AI and do that. And then you find out that sometimes the content are usually uniformed, right? And you can tell, okay, AI did this, and sometimes it lacks that human feeling, human touch to it. And we just heard from Okiki, who told us to have uniqueness to our brands, right? So how can we stay true to our brand, and how can we infuse automation in personalization in storytelling without losing human elements? Thank you.
All right, so thank you so much, Antonia. So for me, Gospel and Okikioluwa already mentioned some key elements people should look at, brands should look out for when they are implementing their campaigns. And then for us, how we implement it, we look at all these key elements when executing campaigns, and then ensure that we also look at key logistics that these brands are already using in their daily activations. So because they are already pushing that human element, we don't want to like use technology to replace those human elements that they are pushing already. So some examples are with the type of games these brands push during activations. That's mostly online. You would see more online and even offline. You would see these games bringing in activities like trivia, spin the wheel, influencer engagement, and other activities. They are not just games these brands use. It's a way for them to connect to humans. So what we do at BrandSauce Marketing Technologies is we add that layer of interactivity to brand engagement. So brands get to make these trivias very interactive and also add that layer of data collection. So with data collection, the insights they are collecting is helping them to identify key behaviors that these consumers are exhibiting online and offline. And like now, data is like a gold mine as at 2025. If you're a brand who is activating and you are not using data to optimize your campaigns, we do look at what happens with Facebook ads, Google ads, but one of the areas that is often overlooked is marketing activations, where data is not really considered in how brands are engaging and telling their stories to consumers. So with the insights that are collected in real time, we are able to let brands optimize these activations and interactions with their consumers in real time. So it's really great to see AI also at the center of everything we are doing now. But like I mentioned, we need to look at all the key factors that Gospel and Okikioluwa mentioned. You need to understand what's the objective the brand is looking at achieving, which emotions do they want to evoke in consumers, and how well do you want consumers to be like interacting with this brand and all that. So those are some of the factors we also use in activating with the brands we work with. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. And thank you for laying so much emphasis on understanding objectives. All right. So next, I'll just be I'll go into our next speaker, who is you'd have to teach me how to pronounce your name because I think I'm not doing justice to it, but I'll try. Olusesan. I hope I'm pronouncing it right.
Well, you are doing your best. So it's pronounced Olusesan.
Olusesan.
Yeah.
Olusesan. I'm so sorry.
It's
Thank
fine.
you so much for
You are not the
correcting
first
me.
person.
Thank you, Olusesan, for correcting me. Okay, so with that, we just had Jessica who talked about the importance of using data insights, right, in telling your in your storytelling, right? And then she also laid so much emphasis on understanding the objectives of your brand, of what you're trying to communicate, the emotions you're trying, in her words, to invoke in your client base, just as how Gospel and Okiki had made reference to earlier on. You work with AXA Mansard, right? And
Yeah.
the financial service sector often demands clarity, credibility, and emotion. So how do you blend these elements in your storytelling campaigns at AXA Mansard?
Okay, thanks, Antonia. I think, the previous speakers have actually laid, very solid background for me. So I think I can own my side of the financial service side. However, there are financial services and there are financial services. I do not belong to the sexiest part of the financial service sector. I sell insurance. And if you know what I mean, I usually tell my team that one of my favorite authors, Clayton Reed Christensen, always says that nobody wakes up, I want to buy insurance. And that is that is some of the biggest challenges that we face on our end from an insurance part of the world. You want to have a bank account because you need to do transactions. You want to have, an investment account because you care about your legacy. You want to buy gold because you think it is, something that you can, transfer. You want to buy real estate. So if you look at all the asset classes, investment asset classes, there are things that people want to do. But nobody wakes up and wants to, think about or buying insurance. And when they think about it, there is a ready-made answer, which is the God factor. So so this is the edict that my team and I come every day, and I always tell people that our mission is to get insurance into the consideration set when an average person thinks about the risks that they face every day. When you wake up in the morning and you pray, you say, God, keep me when I'm going in and keep me when I'm going out. So you already bought some kind of insurance. So we have a very big task ahead of us, and like you rightly said, there is the trial of credibility. There is there is literacy, and so on and so forth, that needs to come together in telling the story. And basically, how do we do this? And I think I'll just use an example of a recent campaign, some kind of tactical campaign that we ran during Valentine's Day, right? And I think the insight from that is basically understanding that people buy life insurance not because they want their family to be paid when they pass on, but they buy life insurance because they actually really care about their families, right? So payment of claims is only a means to an end. But if you look at it from a parent perspective, why do I buy insurance? Because I want to be there even when I am gone. I want to be sure that this child is there. And we took this simple insight. So we felt that the real issue or the real insight around life insurance is the fact that people really don't care about how much you pay their family. What really they care about is that their family is taken care of on the one hand. On the second hand, is that it makes them feel good. You know, like I always tell people, everybody wants to feel like a good parent. Everybody wants to feel like a good son. Everybody wants to feel like a good friend, right? And that was the second insight that we found. And so we put these two things together and we created a campaign we call the Partner for Life. And basically what happened with the Partner for Life is that, going back to Gospel's conversation around purpose, our purpose or our mission is moving from being a payer to a partner. So we wanted to move like, we don't just pay when life happens to you. We want to be your partner through the journey. So we showed up at people's door on Valentine's Day. People who has loved their lost one, people who have lost their loved one. So we visited the beneficiaries of this life insurance. And it was a very emotional, one for us in terms of the way the entire story was told. And I think it was one of the best things that we've done in 2025. If you ask me, we've not done any major campaign, but the real issue wasn't about how much people got. It was about the fact that today you're able to remind me of, what it really means to have my partner around. And that is what we basically do. We find the facts are there, which is the payment, but we also know that we are all, products of stories. We are all products of emotions. We are all products of worldviews. And if you look at all of these three things, that I mentioned, none of them is, hard facts. They are all soft, issues. So finding that, soft spot amongst all the technicalities of insurance and fine print, I think is one thing that, we come to work every day to pretty much, to do and to ensure that, we are able to tell the story. So if you look at most insurance story that you are seeing, you're going to be seeing story about fear, if you do this, this will happen. If you do this, this will not happen. We all know that nobody wants to be threatened. At least, that's basically what it's about. So that's our own approach of ensuring that we're able to remain authentic. We are able to tell real story about the fears of people, about the emotions that carry people to do what they want to do. And, basically that's how we blend this together. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I feel like I'm in marketing 101 class, really nice. And it's really amazing how everything just blends in together, how all your talking points tie in together. Truly, truly remarkable. And I love your catchphrase. We're all products of stories. We're all products of emotions. And you also laid so much emphasis on understanding the why, right? Understanding the purpose. And with that, I would be going to the next question. I'll be going back to Gospel. Right, Gospel, how do you ensure a brand storytelling evolves alongside its customer base and product offering without losing this authenticity that we've been talking so much about?
All right, thank you. All the speakers have done justice to all the questions being asked. And okay, Okiki mention of two words, authentic and consistency, right? You need to be authentic and consistent in what you do. Again, I'm going to revert to what she said. We don't want to go to Facebook and see you do one thing, go to TikTok and you're doing something else. Then you go to LinkedIn and it's a completely different thing. You need to be authentic and you need to be consistent in your core values, right? So this is how usually we approach it. First, we ask the questions like, what are your feedback loop, right? Like, what are your audience feedback loop? Exactly. So what does that actually mean? You need to regularly engage with your customers. And how do you do that? You can do that via surveys. You can do that via social listening. Of course, via normal conversations. You need to listen to what they say. Oh, we love this product, but we need this and this and this. It doesn't really go well with us. We go through hell, trying to get this done. And when you put all those feedbacks together, right, you create a better product that suits your customers. All right. Then I think one of the things we also ask is the internal alignment that's within your team. Okay, from the marketing to your customer service, everybody needs to live the brand story daily. You need to live the brand story daily. So basically, you need to stay authentic and consistent in practically anything you're doing, in your products, in whatever you're marketing. You need to be very, very consistent. Your core value should come first. I think basically that is how we we do that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gospel, for that. Staying true to your core values, and that also drive back understanding your why, understanding your purpose, right? And then you spoke so much about the importance of incorporating feedbacks. Remember, you're not just doing the products because you feel like doing it. You're doing it to solve your customers' needs, right? So how you maintain that is by feedback, getting feedback from your client base, right? And with that, I'll be going back to Okiki. Okiki, you brought about this amazing word that we have now, that now reverberates in our conversation, which is authenticity, right? You've spoken so much about staying true to yourself. Also, when you're answering your first question, you spoke about an awareness being relevant to the time and age. You said we live in an era now, so going to bring say things from the past might be a fallout with your audience, with your demographic, right? So I want to ask, for brands that are trying to integrate storytelling to refresh and to rebrand their efforts, right? People who are focused on building on legacies that they've established before. How do they incorporate this authenticity, being relevant in the time that we exist now, and incorporating innovation? How can these coexist together?
Okay, hi. So I think a good example would be one of the amazing ads we did for Indomie, which was the Mama Do Good remake. So that example will give a balance to preserving the legacy that is Mama Do Good as we know it, the old song and the vibe of it, while still introducing innovative elements to it that speaks to the modern day. So for that ad, everybody knows Mama Do Good. We know the song, we know Indomie, and people were able to tie to it. But what I wanted to do for that campaign specifically was to ensure that the children that we used to eat the Indomie back then, we are introducing flavors to them now. So we are letting them know that it's not just the yellow Indomie in quotes or the same Mama Do Good that you know in terms of the song, but then we are redefining it. So we kept the legacy, we still maintained the legacy, but then we found other ways to be innovative in introducing it to a different demographic. Without necessarily changing the narrative, rather we found ways to evolve the narrative for it. So you have to keep the word is authenticity, but find ways to be innovative with it. And we also don't want our audience to be disengaged from our entire message. So we have to involve them. The sound was something that they could always remember. So in remaking it, even with the different elements in terms of visuals, we equally had to ensure that the sound was still authentic because we wanted to make sure that what they saw, what they heard, tied together for our audience. So in telling your brand story for a legacy brand, you cannot afford to be fully refreshed. You cannot come all Oyiboish, all redefined, all forget about the past in the sense. But you always have to find a way to be consistent in your messaging without forgetting the essence. Okay. Anthony, are you still there, or did you drop off?
I think she dropped off.
Okay, 1 minute. Is there any other person on the team? Trying to see if there's any other person from our team.
Okay, I think we can actually record internally. All right, great.
Okay, she's back.
She's back. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Sorry,
Yeah.
Nigeria happened to me. I'm so sorry about
No,
that.
that's fine. So I
But
think that pretty much summed it up. Thank you. Sorry about that.
thank you. Thank you. And thank you for your understanding. Yeah, how true. You spoke so much about how in being authentic, you have to also be innovative, find innovative ways, right, to still stay true to yourself, but maintaining your why, maintaining your voice, right? Really, really insightful. And then the case study you gave of Indomie is so fantastic. I'm not any brand advocate, but I mean, anytime I want to go for noodles, I think it's the brand. Indomie brand is one of the brands that I would want to go for, and it's because they've done a fantastic job,
I
right?
mean, I don't know of any other brand. I've got the carton in my house right now.
Please buy more so that we'll continue to stay in market. Help us. Thank you very much.
Wow.
Thank you.
Fantastic. So next, we'll be going back to we'll just keep up the love, and then we'll go back to Jessica. Jessica, what are the biggest shifts you've seen in how tech-savvy consumers engage with brand stories in the last 2 years?
Okay, so let me take us to as far back as 2020, where a lot changed and we had brands now rethinking how they engage directly with consumers. We saw that in 2020, it's like exactly 5 years now. And we saw a lot more people online. Back in those days, more people, like more brand managers or marketers had very little budget allocated to pushing stories online. But now we see that a lot of agencies are getting into this trend in the last 2 years, where they've noticed that they need to also become driven by technology. And when we look at how tech-savvy consumers have gotten, you have no option than to take those approaches. Now, let's look at the sort of activities these tech-savvy consumers are engaging in. Now, they want to be involved in the brand story. It's not just about the brand telling them about their story or the values the product gives them and all that. Consumers, we have validated that in surveys over the years. And almost all the time we've tried that, more than 80% of consumers are always like, we're excited to be brand advocates for these brands. Like, I just want to tell the story about my experience with your brand from my perspective. And in the last 2 years, you would see that even on social media, people are calling out brands on a daily basis. People are celebrating brands for the amazing things they are doing. So some of these amazing things in terms of health advocacy that brands are backing on, and use their personality, their story to project what they are doing, and then evokes like more emotions and actions from these customers. So as customers are expecting so much from brands need to sit up and look at the type of conversations they are putting out there. Now, consumers will always compare you to your competitor, whether you like it or not, because before a consumer makes that decision, you may be creating your awareness and all of this stuff in your funnel. But the major person who is influencing your consumer is a family friend, or like the leader of a family, or even a child. A child would be able to influence the mother to make some decisions on the type of products the mother should be getting. So storytelling helps a lot in evoking these actions from our consumers. We have also seen that trend where, apart from just being advocates or being playful with brands and all that, brands are also beginning to notice that Gen Zs are driving storytelling a lot more. They are more driven by what they see, what they hear around them, than just like product values that the brand is just pushing out there. So if you're looking at Gen Zs, now agencies, brands are incorporating Gen Zs who are good at content creation into their daily workflow. It has to do with micro-influencing. It has to do with what activities they are doing with these Gen Zs in terms of internships and other, like accommodating them into the work stream and getting them to be as free as possible to push that brand narrative in a way that the tech-savvy consumer will be able to like connect with the brand. We have this brand, like it's not really a big brand, but it's government-owned. It's the Ghana television. We all know, generally in Africa, any television owned by the government, people don't tend to like be interested in the type of content they push out there. But what we noticed was that they had an admin who was a Gen Z. And the type of narrative he was pushing out there got so many people engaging and were interested in even paying TV license because of how he was playfully going about it. So tech-savvy consumers now are very playful. Now brands need to embrace that playful personality. We are seeing top management also doing those things, jumping on trends as well. It needs to be something we need to consistently use to push storytelling across board. My last comment will also be on value. Tech-savvy consumers, apart from just playing or having fun online or looking for facts, are looking for authenticity in brands. They don't want brands that just dismiss their concerns or just feel like they are just engaging on surface level. So what they are looking out for is accountability from these brands. It's more of, you promised this, and this is what you need to deliver. Because they share those stories all the time, whether it's a good story or a negative story. So we need to become more aware of the type of tech-savvy consumers we are engaging with as brands, get into their shoes, understand how they feel, what their expectations are, and like frame our stories, frame our narratives in a way that impacts like their lives generally and also impacts the brand goals and values.
Thank you so much, Jessica. And I love how technical it gets with the nuggets that you share with us. Accountability, you spoke so much about how consumers want to be involved, right, in your storytelling. Everybody wants to be an influencer. Everybody wants to be heard. Everybody wants to be seen. As little as ordering a product, you get people wanting to like take the pictures, send you their reviews, and all of that. Truly remarkable. So it all dwells down to that catchphrase again, authenticity, right? And understanding the time, understanding your audience database. Really, really amazing. And I love how you put it. You said consumers will always compare you to your competitors, right? And that's the importance of telling your story, right? Right, selling your propositions, right? Because just like you said, it's all about word of mouth at the end of the day. Yes, we live in a digital world, but people are influenced by what they hear, by what they see, just as you rightly phrased it. And it will bring me back to what Olusesan said earlier on about how we are I wrote it down here. He said we are products of emotions, and he said we're products of stories. So that, Jessica, what you just shared, just really uniquely ties down to what he has said. And with that, I'll be asking him the next set of questions. Our time is fast spent, but I hope we are able to get as much out of today's session. I know we've learned a lot. I already learned a lot. So I'll just go straight to asking him the question. How has data analytics informed the way you craft or you test narratives, right? You gave us a beautiful case study earlier on, especially for audience with varying levels of financial literacy.
All right, thank you very much, Antonia, once again. I think, if we talk about data and storytelling, data is the compass for story. Every story kind of has the plots, right? Depending on what school of art you belong to, you have the rising action, the climax, anticlimax, and so on and so forth, right? For each of this level, right, data plays a very important role there, either in business. Just happen to say that when we get into business, right, we now begin to look at the graphs. But if you look at proper storytelling, I think one of the very interesting storyteller that I love is Chimamanda, and one of her books, Arm of a Yellow Sun. If you listen to the interview, and she tells you how much of interviews, right, she had to do before she's able to put together the story that we see. That's some kind of world research, desktop research in history, for somebody to be able to bring out a story out of it. So data is very fundamental, either quantitative or qualitative, is very fundamental to stories. Now, for us on the business side, and for us here, it's always a function of, through what lens are you viewing data? Right. One thing everybody has spoken to is the Gen Zs and the millennials and some of their behavior. One thing I've always shared with my team is that we're all looking at the same data, especially external data. So if you look at the way everybody describes Gen Z and Gen Z, and if they are similar, the question is, how do I wear a lens or lenses of an insurance practitioner, and I look at that data and I look at it differently? And I'll give you a case, a quick, case study about what we did with one of our health products. So we launched a campaign 2 years ago called the Retail Health Plan. So it's basically, how do we get individuals to start buying, HMO, right? Most of us have HMO that are bought for us by our companies, right? So, but there is a huge number of people out there who do not, buy it, right? So the big question was, we looked at data, we looked at, the kind of things that, this audience were doing. Like I said, these are open data to everybody. But one thing that we found after we looked at this data is that the best way to get people to go along with you is not to ask them to stop what they are doing. That's one. The second thing we also find is that this class of people that we are talking about, Gen Zs and millennials, are not likely, they are at the prime of their lives. So issues of sickness are very minimal, because when you're in your 20s and 30s, those are like the prime. It is when you are in early stages that you have, your immune system is not well developed. And when you are older, then you start having all of them. But if you are within your 20s and 40s, that's probably. So it means that what people are thinking about that is not, if you look at it on the scale of priority, maybe health will come at number 5. This is the reality of the matter. So the question is, how do we look at these two data sets and use it to craft a story? And where did we find it? We found it in wellness, right? Because we found that the wellness was one thing that everybody, it was a trend. It wasn't just about, feeling okay. It was, again, going back to what I talked about, the way people want to be seen, right? So you had people who go to the gym and they want to post their pictures, and people who do workouts and they want to share, and so on and so forth. So we created this thing called More Wellness for Less. And that was how we came about, that story. So basically, data except even the one you collect directly from your business from internally, you have to look at it from a different lens. You have to see what every other person is not seeing. That's one. Second, the best way to convince people is to know where they are going and show them how to get there. It's not to tell them not to go where they want to go. And I think most of the time, that's some of the challenges that we have as marketing. We just want to change things, not finding the worldview that people already own and say, okay, how can we get this worldview to get people to where they are going? We just want to say, oh, stop throwing, trash. So, you need to buy motor insurance so that when accident happens, it doesn't really work like that. So you want to find out where are people really going and how do I get. So we know that people are going towards wellness, and we created something that takes them, in that direction. And lastly is how did we use the channels that people are already used to. So we created this, dance challenge, right? So we created this jingle where people can have workout songs in the gym, right? And we ran it through influencers and so on and so forth. So basically, look at data differently. Don't try to change where people are going to, and understand that data is the foundation for your story.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So many things that I learned from that feedback that you're giving us. And I'm just saying, just in case you see me reiterating any of your words online, but it's truly remarkable. You spoke about how we all have access to the same data, but the defining factor is what you can see differently. You also spoke about the importance of showing people where you're going to, right? Not just telling them to change, but showing them where you're going to and how to get there. And then I got so many catchphrases from that, and data is the compass for storytelling. Really remarkable. Ladies and gentlemen, here you have it. We've come to the close of today's pre-conversation. There's so much more we have in store for you, but we're limited by time, unfortunately. You can, for those who are going to be restreaming the session, if you have any questions, you can drop it in the comment section, and we'll try to get the questions across to the facilitator and we'll address it. In case you're here and you haven't heard about the MarkHack 4.0, I don't know where you have been, because what is trending now is MarkHack 4.0. And just in case you're there and you haven't registered for the program, you can visit www.martech and register to attend. It's going to be taking place at the prestigious Landmark Event Center next month, the 23rd of May. You don't want to miss it. As in, you see how today's session has just been amazing. It's been like a compact masterclass for branding and marketing. You can only just imagine how that day will be. And with that, I want to thank our facilitators so much. Thank you for taking out the time to be with us, for sharing with us from your wealth of experience. I learned so much today, right? I learned so much, and I'm sure our audience too can relate with all that has been said. And I've learned a lot from what you have shared. And just before we go, I'll give the floor to our panelists to just give us one parting word, right? And I will start with the beautiful Okiki.
Hi, so you said we should give one parting word, right? Did I get that right?
Yeah.
So I would say the parting word would be authentic. You have to be as real with your storytelling as possible. There's no room for compromise on authenticity or genuine storytelling. In as much as you want to push or sell your product, sell your market, you still also have to go back to what your audience can easily resonate with. If they can't resonate with your story, then they can't buy your product. Or then they are forced to buy it, but they don't see the need for your product. But then when they're able to relate to your story, it's easier for them to want to buy your product or tie into it. So if they can see themselves, see some sort of relatability, see some sort of authenticity in it, it makes it easier for them to want to resonate with it. And the only way to tell a true story is by being authentic to your brand story. So I'll say that is the word for today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, you can see how imperative it is to be authentic. She actually stayed true to her catchphrase throughout the webinar, which is maintaining authenticity, and she kept on sounding it in our ears. So you can see, right? Very important to stay true to your voice, stay true to your purpose. Gospel, your parting words for us.
Man, I'm going to go with what Okeke said. You need to be authentic and consistent, right? She has said it all. And again, I'll also say in a crowded market, storytelling isn't just nice to have, it is the differentiating factor. So in every product you have, whatever you're coming up with, MarkHack is coming, lots of products will be built. Ensure that there is a hook to it, all right? Tell a story about your products, all right? And you never can tell where you'll be, right? And also be consistent, right? Thank you.
Definitely, thank you. So to authenticity, we have consistency. So be authentic, be consistent. And yes, Jessica, your parting word for us today.
Okay, so for me, what I want to still push is brands embracing innovation and analytics as part of their daily journey. You cannot do without insights. Insights help you to be able to figure out what's working, what's not working, where to optimize and where not. And this should happen both offline and online. Okiki, Gospel, and Ogunyooye had mentioned earlier that it needs to be aligned, like your campaign needs to be aligned. So as a brand, if you're working with multiple agencies, I know Okiki and Gospel would relate. You see that sometimes the storytelling is very different from what is offline. And also, like, you don't want to be in a situation where you are confusing your consumer or your target market offline and online. Everything needs to be streamlined from television all the way to online, and then to the more activations and even market storms that you are having. So insights need to be at the heart of every decision you are making, and it has to be real time. It shouldn't be after the campaign, because you're going to be losing out on a lot, and your competition who may be using insights may be doing better than you. So those are my parting words. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, Jessica. You added insights, the importance of having real-time insights, real-time data and analytics, right? And finally, but definitely not the least, we have parting word from Mr. Olusesan.
All right, thank you very much, Antonia. I think you did a better job now. You know, they always leave the best for the last, you know what I mean? All right, so my parting words, facts are not what change people. Facts are not the things that move people. Truth are the things that move people. And I think I learned that reading this book about Chimamanda Adichie, The Half of a Yellow Sun. And I know about the stories of the Civil War, but we knew the fact, we knew the number of people that died, you know, we knew which year it started, we knew all of these things. But we didn't know much about love stories. We didn't know more about families who lost. We didn't know about the pains of family who got missing and a number of other things like that. And since I read that book about 6-7 years ago, I think that's one truth I've held about stories. And if I bring that to what I do in insurance today, I've always argued at our forum that the way to change people to buy insurance is not essentially to tell them what they lose. Everybody knows that they face one risk or the other. What they have actually done is build some kind of resistance mechanism to the facts. But the truth always cuts through, because the truth is what a lot of us don't have. Sometimes when you read a story, you just start crying, right? But if you just see it, if you just know about the number of people that died, then it becomes number. So as we put our campaigns together, as we try to bridge the gap And as we try to cut through the noise in the market today, the features are good, the benefits are nice, but the truth of the matter is that it's the story that gets people to move. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I don't think there's that's really remarkable and really touching. Facts do not change people, truths change people, truth cuts throats. Really remarkable. Thank you once again, all our amazing panelists for today. And special thanks to the people who have made this also worthwhile. You, our audience, we do not take your attendance for granted. Thank you for showing up. Thank you. I saw Instant Sync. Thank you for your comments. Today's session was awesome, and you contributed in making it awesome. Thank you. And special thanks to the curators of MarkHack events, that is Eco Innovation Center, in collaboration with the GDM. Thank you, everybody. We'll be back next week for another segment with another set of remarkable speakers. You can reach out to our speakers via their social medias, and I'm sure they would be very welcoming to engage with you. Thank you, everybody. Please enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.
All right, thanks everyone. Thanks Okiki, Gospel, and Jessica, and Antonia. Well done.
Thank you again
Bye,
to
everyone.
everyone.
Antonia, well done. Have a good day.
Yeah, thank you to everyone. Thank you.